Warning, this episode's material is an erotic novel with explicit scenes. We will discuss these moments in a minor, veiled detail. Still, listener discretion is advised.
Which is okay by us, and if you don't like it, then you're just homophobic. So get out.
Edit point.
Yeah. I don't know why that was funnier in my head. Cancelled.
Cancelled.
Welcome to the World of Dragons podcast. I'm your host, Ray the Sea Dragon, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
I'm Bantam, the half-breed wyvern crow.
Dilatan, the fireless drake, will not be joining us this week. He is currently dealing with a kobold uprising.
One that I may or may not have had a hand in starting.
Instigating. Terrible. Our goal on this podcast is to build a collection of reviews of dragons and other non-human related books and other media to make it easier for fellow fans like yourselves to find the next world you want to visit.
We will open with a brief review of the day's material to help you decide if you're interested. Then we take a short intermission, and you have time to stop the episode if you want to read or play it for yourself before we spoil it.
When we return, we talk more in depth about the story, its twists and turns, as well as our favorite characters and what we each enjoyed about the setting. There will be spoilers at this point.
All right, this week we'll be reviewing and discussing Night's Fire by S.J Himes. It is the story of a dragon on the run from a slaving wizard who is rescued by a knight and falls in love with him. Though it is erotica, male-on-male focus.
Alright, so to start in very broad strokes so we don't spoil anything if they decide they like it, the overall plot and story kind of just took... Did you feel like it took a backseat to the adult scenes? Or was it actually, decent?
No, I do feel like the plot took a backseat too. All right. I've written something similar in my past, and I feel like he struggled to get to the point where he could write what he wanted, and so it was all just kind of slapdash together. That's what it felt like to me. Like, yep, this scene, yep, this conversation. Okay, all right, I'm closer. Soon I'll be able to write what I really want.
Okay, the thought of you saying I'm closer and talking about erotica is...
Okay.
But yeah, so I have read a couple of other erotic books before, and this one, honestly, not the greatest. So this is the second time I read this book, and honestly, listeners, a lot of times this will be the second time for me, because I tend to read them ahead of the other two to see if it's worth the effort. Considering they don't like reading as much as I do, I kind of have to scout them out. I gotta see if the dragon is actually a character or if he's just a tool or a wild beast or whatever.
Or a deus ex machina for the plot.
Yeah, we probably won't ever touch the Wheel of Time. So, this being my second time reading it, I actually skipped over the adult scenes. I don't feel like they added anything, and they weren't even... I guess they may have been written... okay-ish. It's just, I don't know.
Okay, so...
Didn't intrigue me?
I got no warning at all. And so I'm listening to this book at work. And I got my headphones in and I'm just sitting there doing my stuff. And all of a sudden I'm just like, wait, no. What? And then just looked up to look at Ray, because I work with him. And I'm just like, the hell's going on?
I see his face across the floor, and I just started cackling. I know where he's at.
Well, it came out of left field. It really did.
It did the first time I read through it. It definitely came out of nowhere, which I guess is why it feels like it was forced in.
Yeah, and the first graphic scene in the book, yeah, it kind of sucker punched me. And then when it was over, I was like, okay, all right, so the rest of the story is just going to kind of coast along off that.
We got that out of our system at least.
But nope. It got way worse later.
There's only 2 scenes, though, right?
Yes, there's only 2 scenes.
Also, the book is only 4 hours and change long, so 2 scenes is probably still a lot for that.
Yeah.
It was weird. I thought it was a 10-hour... Okay, 4 hours on audiobook, specifically. I thought it was another 10-hour book, like the other ones that we read usually, when I suggested it. So then, like, getting through the material during the intervening weeks, I realized, wait, this is super short. Hopefully this does make a really short episode. And now we're down a person, so there's less back and forth, so it's going to be a really short episode.
I do also want to congratulate / compliment the so again, I prefer audiobooks. There will be occasions where it's a physical book, but for the most part, audiobook works best for me. And so I discussed it in another episode where the reader, the performer, or whatever they want to refer to themselves as, narrator, is a huge part of the book experience for me. If they are terrible, in my opinion, then I can't get involved in the book. This guy, Joel Leslie, who narrates Night's Fire, holy crap! I mean, my experience with narrators is pretty limited, but this guy blew it out of the park. The voices for every character except one were fantastic. In my opinion, I hated the voice he picked for Zephyr, the main character, the dragon. Absolutely despised it. But every other voice was crisp and distinct. Very, very hard to maintain a bunch of fake accents like that.
Yeah, on the other hand, I liked Zephyr's voice. I thought it was pretty fitting. I guess if I had to criticize it, there are a couple of times where he did sound like he was trying to, I guess, dumb down his intelligence. So he would try to talk very halting and slowly and in a weird kind of up and down tone motion to make it sound as inhuman as possible without using a filter or something. I don't know. Maybe?
Maybe.
Did you just hate the pitch he gave him trying to talk higher pitched?
Yeah, I don't like the way his voice kind of fluctuated. Like, I get that he was going for a dragon trying to, speak in human language, but it's a magical creature, and with everything else that happened in this book, the last thing you need to do is worry about, a dragon sounding accurate. Like, just give him a normal voice that everyone can understand and listen to. My opinion, of course, but...
This is a shapeshifter romance novel, sadly. So he does turn into a human halfway through the story. Did you notice if he changed his voice when he went human?
He did slightly. He did not hiss.
I liked the hissing. I thought that it was a nice touch.
If you call that hissing, I don't call that hissing.
I mean,
that sounds like an alligator trying to talk.
Would alligators technically hiss?
Yeah, it's more of a growl hiss.
Still, it's better than the long, drawn-out, like, cartoony S's.
No, I like that.
Like Disney snakes do.
No, it's more sensual.
I guess this is the adult episode, so you can do that if you want. The original question, do you think the plot took a backseat to the adult scenes? You said yes. I don't think so, because the fact that they came out of nowhere, like kind of to the point where they blindsided you, definitely felt like they were semi-forced in, like he had to put them in there just to, I guess, satiate the people who read shapeshifter romances.
On the contrary, again, I've written these before when I was younger. And yeah, once you reach a point where you're like, can I finally start writing the part that I actually want to write? And then you just go into it. It's just a sheer cliff face of like, yep, here's what we're writing now. And the fact that it caught me off guard, it's to me it felt like he wrote as many pages as he could before got to the part he wanted.
Right. I'll defer to your judgment on that. The other erotic novels that I've read, 2 of them were great and I loved it and it flowed so naturally. One of them was so terrible that I actually returned it because I just couldn't stomach it.
Now I'm intrigued.
No, not terrible isn't like overly raunchy, but terrible isn't like, oh god, the writing, eh.
Oh.
But yeah, so you probably have more experience with the genre through fanfiction.net or whatever it is.
No, mostly from buying choose your own adventure erotic novels on Amazon.
Alright. So besides the clash of the adult and non-adult storylines, was the story actually good, you think? The whole concept of on the run from a wizard who slaves dragons?
I mean, there was definitely very little focus on action. I mean, there was a whole fight, quote unquote skirmish scene, but for the most part, it was just a bunch of people standing around and talking. I fully admit that I don't think a book will ever be able to approach the levels of what I feel are a perfect balance between action and dialogue. Because, for me, I just there is I mentioned this in a previous episode and I remembered the name of the book. It was a Warhammer 40k book called Deathwing, where it was a compilation of short stories that perfectly mixed action and dialogue, to me. But in this book, there was just the one skirmish scene with the bandits.
Well, I mean, to be fair, a short story could probably focus a lot more on combat.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was probably going to be a sequel. It is advertised as book 1 on Audible, so there probably will be a sequel. Are you at all interested to see where the story goes?
Yeah, I mean, because of the fact that, I am not the book lover on this podcast. I am purely movies, video games, and TV shows. But despite that, the book doesn't last long enough for me to become frustrated with it. Like, I could deal with the book even if I hated it, which I don't. But even if I hated it, I can just look and see, okay, well, I only have X many chapters to go. It's not, a huge investment of my life that I'm wasting on a book I hate.
Alright. The characters, you said that you liked their voices, but did you like how they were written?
Yes.
Did they feel fleshed out, or were they kind of just cardboard cutouts?
No, they felt pretty organic for the universe, for the world. They felt like they actually lived there and that they actually, had deeper thoughts than what was written on page.
Yeah, so there was Zephyr the dragon, Gawain the knight that he falls for, Tristan his cousin?
Tristan was, I believe, yes, his cousin, the mage, right?
Yes, the mage.
There was also Bedivere and a whole bunch of other...
yeah, there were a handful of other knights and
Knights of the Round Tables.
I mean, I don't think it's the Round Table because there's no author. I can't say that name. Holy
Arthur?
Shit. There's no Arthur.
Yeah, listeners, Ray does not have the ability to use the R. He's an aquatic dragon, so you'll have to forgive him.
Just bash me, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, there was no Arthur. It was
I'm
what was
pretty
his sister's
sure.
name?
I'm pretty sure. Actually, just edit point. Hold on one sec.
Was his sister actually Guinevere?
No.
Okay.
Knights of the Round Table. Gaswain is one of them. Arthur Bedivere is one of them.
Right. So he took the names, but I don't think it was supposed to be actually Arthurian time period.
Well,
because there was no Arthur himself.
Yeah. Gawain is also taken from it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew that.
God, there's so many. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess we really didn't see that many characters. You usually complain about how a book will just start and immediately thrust upon you
like 3 dozen characters
that you can't keep track of. Did this book do that?
No.
So you were able to keep track of who was who then?
They were able to, even toward the beginning of the book when there were a lot of villagers and like different groups of characters, a lot of them were cardboard cutouts in the background because they weren't important. They were used as set dressing to decorate the scene while the main characters interacted and spoke. And it was the perfect blend of... It was the perfect amount of characters that I could hold on to in my head.
What about the author's writing style?
I mean,
their vocabulary, word choice, their prose, their just like you hated Tooth and Claw because the writing style was very
Victorian.
Yeah, or I can't think of the word. Not uptight, but very very posh, very high society.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the writing style of this book?
No, it was accessible. It was fine. There was one part actually toward the beginning of the book that kind of pissed me off. The amount of detail that he went into what they were wearing. I swear to God, it was a whole chapter. I know these chapters are small and it's a small book, but oh my God, I just remember sitting there, just listening to them describe the different layers of armor he has and where his shield is strapped and how his banner and this, that, and the other thing, and his horse and his reins and his stirrups and packs, and I'm like, I don't care about any of this shit. Like, can you please stop talking about his outfit?
It's interesting that you hate that, considering how into like armor porn you are when you play RPG games.
Yeah, because I can look at it. It's a game. I can look at it.
They're visually helping you look at it here.
I can't.
No imagination.
No imagination. The internet has destroyed me.
That very sad. I didn't notice a problem with that. Perhaps I just like mentally glossed over it, but I didn't have a problem with that. What about the language and writing style with the adult scenes?
Oh, okay.
Was it cringe? Was it cringy?
Oh, it was. So, all right. I mean, yeah. Obviously, it's an erotic novel. I don't think ever in my life will I ever not flinch when I hear the word dick or penis in a book.
You can't say that on the podcast.
But like just hearing such, I guess in my opinion, boring, crass words in an erotic novel, like those words will never be hot to me, and hearing just the first erotic scene in the book wasn't so bad, but the second one used so many swears and so many just like crass descriptions of body parts that I was like, this is gross. And I wanted to skip it, but I was just like stunned.
I got some input on the writing of the first scene, which we'll get to after the intermission, because it's going to be a bit more in detail, so kind of spoilery, I guess. But as far as general points, one thing that I remember kind of like chuckling over was the narrator when we got to the adult scenes. He changed the tone of his voice to sound more, I guess, into it.
Yeah, he sounded more breathy. He sounded more breathy and like, yes. And it was like, oh, okay.
Which made it a little uncomfortable for me, very slightly. But also it just made me laugh because I'm like, I can't imagine sitting in a sound booth doing this. Oh my God.
Not only that, but like,
I'm embarrassed enough just doing this podcast. I could never do like grunts and groans and very like, oh, and then he. Oh.
There were a lot of times during those scenes where I just stared off into space and went, "This guy's gross." Because I keep forgetting that the guy reading it is not the one who wrote it, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're disgusting, dude." And then I'm like, "Oh wait, no, you're just reading it." And then
this is just a job.
I'm just wondering, like, yeah, what. I would love to be, fly on the wall listening to that conversation. Like, hey, we want you to read this book. There's some sex in it. And, the reader, Leslie, just going, oh, okay, whatever, And then...
Okay, actually, Leslie actually does a lot of reading for erotic novels on Audible.
Oh, okay.
If you go through his catalog, he's got like 10 plus pages of them. And actually, I was listening to this book this second time, and he sounded so familiar. So I went to my favorite book series, which is also erotic, and maybe we'll get into that eventually. But he did that one too, and it was, oh my God, no wonder he sounds so familiar, and he is really good. But like, I guess the writing of this one.
I wonder if he's capable of turning off like a part of him and just getting into it. Like I wouldn't be able to. I'd be all giggles. Or oh God, like I'd read a sentence out loud and then on the recording just be like, oh God.
You'd get halfway through it and then break into giggles.
Either break into giggles or break into just stunned silence.
Yeah, maybe he's just completely depraved. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but to go through that many readings, it has to have left a mark on him.
At that point, could you even have sex ever again? Because it'll never compare to what you've read.
Let's not get into the discussion of porn ruining sex with people.
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
Anything else to talk about it as far as broad strokes go? Oh my god, everything is terrible with the underlying tones of erotica. Broad strokes.
Strokes.
But yeah, anything else before the intermission?
No.
We're so immature. Alright, so then what would you rate this, and would you recommend it to somebody?
So taking everything into account, I would give this book a 7 out of 10 for plot, a 9 out of 10 for eroticism and comedy. Like, if you, like, all right, I would definitely love if there was like if we actually had like a book club, like a physical, everyone come over to the house and like hand out copies of the book, and no one has like that. There's a style of book club where everybody reads aloud in a circle. Like,
oh my god, no way.
Oh yeah, I would love this. Oh my god, this would be 10. This would be 20 out of 10 on that list. I would love.
You wouldn't be reading the book; you'd be watching the other people.
Oh yeah, no, I would claim to be sick and hide in my room and then just crack the door and just watch. No, it would be absolutely hilarious. But I would say overall the book I'd give it a 7, a high 7, low 8 out of 10.
And you would recommend it to other people?
Yes.
You would wish this upon them?
Suffer as I have.
Just call your mom up and be like, hey, I got a book for you.
Oh no! Oh, God. No. I've seen enough shirtless men with horses in the background novels on her shelf.
Oh my god, she reads them?
Yes, she does.
Then definitely recommend this to her. Oh my god, I'm going to recommend it to her for you.
You monster.
Oh my god, you should definitely let her listen to this episode. It's going to be great. I'm going to find some way to bribe you. Anyway, as far as what I would rate it, a little tricky. So I felt like the book was very well constructed. Like, I was okay with its writing style, and the plot and the world and everything felt okay to me, so I'd give it like a 7 or maybe even 8. But the content itself, I'd give it like a 4. But honestly, that's just me being vindictive because I hate shapeshifting much. I mean, I was looking through Audible's catalog, and I do have a couple books on Kindle, but unfortunately my schedule right now really only lets me do audiobooks. I will get back into physical books later, but for now I have to do audiobooks. So I was looking through the catalog, trying to find some romance novels that I could enjoy, because every now and then you just feel like doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily for the smut. I just like when that stuff is like acknowledged, let's say.
Yeah. It's not a dirty secret that like you're like, this is unrealistic for this world because no one's acting on their baser instincts.
Yeah, some of the best books I've read will acknowledge that this kind of stuff happens, but they won't ever go into detail. They'll use the veil or black curtain or whatever the term is called to just like imply this happened off camera. You know, like camera goes to the fireplace and then next scene, right?
Yeah.
That's what I look for. And so technically, if that becomes a focus point, it's categorized as romance still. So I was looking through the romance catalog, and I was looking for dragons and other paranormal stuff because that's just the kind of stuff I like. That's the whole point of this podcast itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all goddamn shifters. And look, I'm going to get into the rant after the intermission. But the point is, while I would rate this book very low, I admit it's me being very vindictive towards the shapeshifter trope itself.
Yeah.
If I was trying to be fair, it would maybe be a 7, maybe an 8, but it's kind of hard for me to be fair just because of how important that is for me.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed, the type of people who listen to this podcast are also upset that it's a shapeshifter, not a full-on dragon. But whatever. Would I recommend it? Kind of hard to say. There's definitely others I'd recommend first, and because I have avoided every other shapeshifter book, this is actually my first shifter book that I've read. Maybe, I don't know how well it compares to other shifters, so
I just want to say I don't even like the concept of shapeshifting.
Yeah, so
Dragons can be magical creatures. That's fine. I don't care that they're magical. I don't care that, how they explain how they get their fire breath, or how they explain how they can, see auras, or how they can talk a human language, or whatever. But the fact that they can use magic to shapeshift into random other creatures, why would you ever be a dragon? Because you're constantly going to be hunted. And on top of that, it's like it just seems like a lazy thing for me. Like I can't stand magic where it's like I'm this fearsome amazing creature, but I'm just going to use magic to appear human because
yeah. But yeah, this being the only shapeshifting book that has, I guess, tricked me into reading it, because it wasn't obvious it was a shapeshifter book from the little blurb on Audible. I guess I would recommend it because perhaps it's the best out of the lot. Yeah, I don't have a big enough sample size to say if it's actually good or not, but I guess. There's definitely a lot more I'd recommend before this, though. But yeah, so if that at all interested you, and you want to go read this 4-hour and some odd minute book for yourself, go ahead and pause the episode now. Enjoy your read, and then join us Enjoy your read.
Enjoy your read.
Come back and join us after the intermission, and we'll get into a bit more in-depth discussion.
In-depth?
In-depth.
All right, see you soon.
All right, so welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the book. Feel free to message us and tell me how wrong I am for hating shapeshifters. But yeah, to get into more in-depth discussions, let's start with shapeshifters. We kind of already ranted a bit before, even though we said we were going to keep putting it off. But the whole point is I want books with dragons and other non-human stuff, so when they turn into humans, completely destroys the whole point.
Yeah. Before you continue, let me just say that I'm gonna lean back in my chair and kick up my talons, because this will be good.
Oh, just because I'm gonna just rant and you just sit there and listen for 5 minutes.
I saw the put the soapbox down. But keep in mind, I fully agree with you. But go ahead.
But yeah, so again, these are my opinions, and obviously, with how big the shapeshifting literature genre is, a lot of people probably like it. So this is just my possibly very incorrect opinion, but shapeshifting in writing is just so lazy, I feel like it's the easy way out of trying to write interesting characters. It's too complicated to have these two different species get together, so I'm going to have to come up with some contrived way for them to now be the same species. It's like, I don't see how these parts could fit, or I don't think these sizes would be compatible. I don't think whatever. I don't.
There's a lot of discussion on the internet about the Harkness test and everything else, but I mean this dragon, and most dragons in novels, would pass the Harkness test, and so there's nothing morally wrong about having this dragon want to have sex with this human. They don't need to go the extra step to shift him into a human because he's uncomfortable with if you're uncomfortable, then don't put any sex in your book. If you want to have a dragon, if you sat down and you said, I want to write a novel about a dragon that falls in love with and has sex with a human, then write that. Don't then go, ooh, I'm not comfortable with writing this, so I'm going to change him into a human. Well, then don't write that book. Or don't write that they fall in love.
I mean, or what's the point of it being a dragon then?
Yeah.
Just write a normal story with two humans.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I haven't really read Shifters, but just based on the summaries that I've read and just what I've kind of, I guess, absorbed through osmosis, it sounds like the shifter genre usually has them being human 95% of the time. So what does them being a dragon add to it? I'm going to have to find the top rated dragon shifter and just stomach it and read it and power through it just to see what actually goes on. Maybe there'll be some epiphany or something, but I can't understand what being a dragon brings to it if they're not actually a dragon.
Yeah. part of me wonders if you could, like, you know, as the author is writing the book, if you then told him, hey, by the way, you're not allowed to put transformation into your book, if he would then just write out all the sex scenes, or if he would then go, okay, and then just do the sex scenes with a dragon and a human.
Yeah. One of the arguments with dragons specifically is, I guess, how would it fit? Which, sure, sometimes dragons are really big. Like, if it's like the size of Smaug, the size of him from The Hobbit, then yeah, that would be
difficult,
interesting. It would not be
fatal.
No, not fatal. Shit, the word that starts with a C and means it's normal.
Common?
No, not common.
Well, while you think of that word, there was another point I wanted to bring up, which is that I actually was more disturbed by the sex scenes because of how they describe Zephyr in his human form. He sounded like a child. And, you know, the fact that he knew nothing about his new anatomy felt really creepy to me.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. That's the bone I have to pick with the first sex scene.
Okay.
But the word is conventional. That's what I was thinking. So if the dragon was Smaug-sized, then the intercourse itself would not be conventional, obviously. Without a whole lot of leaps in physics and anatomy and all that. Which, sure, with magic in the world, possibly.
It's like hugging a tree.
Maybe. But the thing is, you could do... it feels so weird saying this on podcast, but you could do body jobs. Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's other things you could do. Or if you really have to then add shapeshifting to make the bodies compatible, why not make the human a dragon? Why does it always have to be going to human? Why is it always going that direction?
Yeah.
There's another book that we will probably read on the podcast because the world itself is very rich, but the Dragon Friend series from I believe it's Mark Sakier. I hope that's the correct author. But it's a how to do this without spoiling it, because this isn't the spoiler tagged episode for that, but there is absolutely no way.
All right. So, potential spoilers. Skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it.
If you don't want to be spoiled for Dragon Friend
Go ahead.
And the sequels. At one point, she turns into a dragon. And I was like, oh, this is amazing, because she loves dragons. She's always wanted to be one. She felt very attached to them. So she turns into a dragon, and she's falling in love with a dragon. And it's like, wonderful. This is the correct transformation. But then next book, oh no, she turns back to human, and now Grandian himself is going to turn human to be with her. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's annoying.
I got bait and switched so hard. All right, back to the topic at hand, so I don't spoil other stuff.
And funny thing, that was actually exactly 30 seconds.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, you literally were like, all right, at the 15-second mark. I was like, holy crap.
Obviously was planned. But yeah, so while size can be an issue, in this book, Zephyr was only the size of a larger horse.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that big of a stretch. Stretch.
Slap.
But he also admitted in the beginning that he could make himself smaller, like just like change his size, not his shape, because when he was trying to run and hide, he didn't have enough magic to do that, so he had to find a cave big enough for him to fit in. So he could just make himself slightly smaller, and then no problem at all.
I wouldn't mind shapeshifting if it was just size.
Yeah. Or the human turning into a dragon instead of always having to go human.
Or even just becoming an anthropomorphic dragon, or like a lizard man, or, you know, like in Divinity 2, that frost dragon that when he transforms into quote-unquote human form, he becomes a lizard man.
Yeah, I could accept that semi-begrudgingly. It's like, I understand this is the best I can get, but...
Just enough with the humans.
Slightly shortcutty.
Just enough with the humans.
But yeah. Another problem that people have with dragon on human relations in that sense is they think it counts as zoophilia. And to tie into your whole Harkness test thing, it's like, no, that's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if podcasts have like an audio pickup thing to it, like all these words are going to put us on some list somewhere.
So, For our listeners, if you're unfamiliar with what the Harkness test is there are 3 questions you need to ask if you're going to have intercourse with another species. 1,
It's our checklist for when we find alien life.
yes. 1, does it have human intelligence or greater? 2, can it talk or otherwise communicate with language? And 3, is it of sexual maturity for its species? If the answer to all 3 of these is yes, then you can have sex with it. It's a non-human creature with sentience and all you need to have consensual sex with. If you answered no to 1 or more, then that could be potentially pedophilia or bestiality. But this dragon actually expresses in the book that he is a full-grown adult dragon. He's just a little stunted because he was malnourished and beaten and abused. He can speak, and he does have human intelligence. So there is literally no reason why they could not have just kept him in dragon form. Except that the author got squeamish, and if the author got squeamish at that thought, then maybe you shouldn't have written an erotic novel.
I mean, we're assuming they got squeamish. Like I said, I haven't really partaken in the shifter genre because I am not interested in it. But he could have just written shifters because he wants to write shifters because shifters are popular, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just trying to explain our gripes with it. So if any of you know a romance novel between dragon and human without shapeshifting,
please let us know.
Even if it ends up being a straight romance novel, I'll stomach it. I'll deal with it. Here I am outing myself on podcast. Okay, so getting back into the actual book and not so much shifting in general. Zephyr admitting that he is old enough and he consented and all that to Gawain, happening after the first intercourse scene.
Yes, it did.
That was really weird. Okay, it's like...
So Gawain was definitely down to do all this stuff with what equated to the descriptions as a child, or at least a very young adult, and he had no problems with it. He went whole hog into that whole situation, and then later found out that he was of sexual age for his species.
Well, it's like, because and that discussion happens right before the second scene, where he stops Zephyr and says, hey, we need to make sure that this is actually okay. It's like, why didn't you do that the first time? Ugh. And then to just continue ranting about the first scene in general, the fact that the author played up the whole, I guess the virgin trope, you could call it, where Zephyr doesn't know what's happening, he's getting a boner, he doesn't know what's going on. And it's like, oh my god, it feels good. It's like, do we have to do that in every single romance book?
Yeah, it's annoying.
Such a weird episode to record. And so early on in the life of the podcast,
it's fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
We got a handful of initial listeners on the first 2 or 3 episodes, and now we're just going to lose them all.
Or gain entirely new ones.
Maybe they'll respect us for our opinions. Maybe this is why Dilettante's not here. Who knows?
He read the book. He's like, oh, no, I can't make it. Sorry.
Wouldn't blame him, honestly. Let's talk about Zephyr himself, the character, because he was adorable. All right.
Yes.
Ignore all the adult stuff and just take this book as a short story or like the intro to what will hopefully be a bigger story. Zephyr's character himself was great.
I'm sure you know why I loved him.
Because he was very cat-like.
Yeah, the amount of times they compared him or his actions to being cat-like or a cat. Oh, I loved it. Like, I've never been able to, because my shot imagination, I've never been able to imagine more clearly just like a dragon just like curling up on pillows and like stretching and being cute and adorable and sniffing at things. And I'm like, oh, it's a cat. And I love it. And I will agree with you that they use the description cat-like or like a cat way too much.
There was a point where they did, I think, 3 times in a minute.
Yeah.
So I should have written down. The problem with doing audiobooks is we can't just mark a page with a little bookmark and read that little excerpt.
Yeah.
Because this would be a great time for that, just to prove our point. But, oh well. C'est la vie. But yeah, I don't want to admit that I don't like cats. That's going to lose me fans immediately.
No, you could just say it was excessive and then be done with it.
Yeah. But yeah, Zephyr himself was adorable. A lot of his habits were really endearing. The fact that he starts scent marking Gawain, I love that. it was endearing, and just conceptually it was animalistic enough to where it kind of just shows a point to it being a dragon, even if they're gonna shift to human later, I guess.
Yeah. Like when he woke up and he went outside the tent and he started scratching on trees and
Shit, did he scratch on trees? I must have glossed over that.
yeah, the author called out specifically that he was dragging his claws across trees to just basically stretch and, sharpen his claws. And it said that Zephyr enjoyed the feeling of the pulling on his knuckles as he did it.
Oh, I do remember that line. Yeah, okay. So the point being is they're just small things like that kind of play into the fact that this is not a human. I love that. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for in these dragon protagonist and other non-human protagonist kind of stuff. There was another book, I can't remember what it's called because I gave up halfway through, where it's a lit RPG, an isekai. So these people get transported to another world, and being a lit RPG, they get to make a character as if it was a D&D world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he chooses a fox as his race, a kitsune, so he can stand up on two legs or turn into an actual quadrupedal fox or whatever. But they never really reference anything. Like, he just acts like a human.
Yeah.
Who cares that he has got fur and claws and tail? I think it gets mentioned offhandedly a couple times, but like, his mannerisms don't really change, which I guess makes sense if you lived your whole life as a human and found yourself in this body. But I would have loved and preferred if there was a decent section at the beginning where he's trying to get used to this body. Like, he accidentally scratches someone and he has to learn how to control his claws, or his sense of balance is thrown off from the tail because he's not used to it, or, just acknowledge these things.
Yeah.
And this book did. Zephyr had some very animalistic mannerisms, which made him really endearing to me. It's him getting jealous of the horse because Gawain rides on the horse instead of on his back.
Yeah.
That was cute too.
Yeah. Whereas the Zephyr believes that it is like you and I can be closer if you just ride on my back. But to Gawain, it was, you're not a pack animal. You're a sentient being. It would be, I guess, embarrassing to ride you.
Or rude.
And
the thing is, in books with dragons, it's usually the other way around. The human wants to ride on their back, and the dragon's like, no. God, if Dillaton was here, I'd ask him if he would let someone ride on his back. But
seeing as he's not here, I know Dillaton well enough. He would definitely say yes. He loves it when people ride on his back. He loves to take people for flights.
Oh, does he secretly like having bitten brutal too?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know, he loves that. And because he's not here to defend himself,
he never takes his saddle off. It's so comforting to him, like a security blanket.
He loves saddlebags too. Having saddlebags all over him. You go on shopping trips, he loves having just groceries stuffed in there. It makes him feel useful.
So we're making fun of him, but the concept of a dragon, like in the Dragon Human Society, like last episode with the Mystery of Caketropolis, right? The concept of like the dragon going with his shepherd to the grocery store and then being laden up with the groceries to help carry back. It's like, sure, maybe it's a little insulting for like really, really prideful dragons, but it's still a really cute scene.
Yeah, and I wouldn't see why a dragon would consider that. I mean, all right, I guess I'm not a full dragon, but I mean, like, what would I rather? Would I rather carry some groceries because I'm bigger and stronger, or would I rather watch someone else suffer while they try to carry a weight that they're not capable of?
Yeah, like, it really comes down to just how well do you know the person. Like, it's definitely insulting if it's just assumed you would do it, but if you're going with your friend who just happens to be smaller than you, then yeah, you carry for him.
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to go fly around, I'd take you flying around. It wouldn't bother me whatsoever.
Yeah. And then you just drop him.
And then I just drop you. Into the ocean. But, you gotta see how good your form and diving is.
I know that's eagle hunting. Is that it? Do crows do that? Not really. They're too small because they just basically just crack shells with like snails and stuff, right?
They don't. I don't think that
they don't actually hunt anything very large.
No. They
kind of just forage.
They're carrion, and I mean they will crack nuts in traffic. Like, they'll put walnuts and stuff down on the road, and then they'll wait for green light. Cars will run over it, and then they wait for a red light, and they go pick it up.
Oh, so smart.
Yeah, we are.
You lost some of that though.
Hey. Yeah, I
Alright.
did lose some of it. It's the dragon half of me. Made me dumber.
Oh.
Oh.
Which species of dragon?
Wyvern.
Yep, wyverns are pretty dumb. Bitches don't even have arms. There goes our wyvern audience. It's fine, they couldn't get to the podcast anyway. Alright, back on topic. So the scent marking. I do enjoy possessive dragons. That's a quality that I actually enjoy in them. When they get to the point where they're being like super arrogant and unreasonable, then it can get tiresome. But just mild possessiveness, especially of people, I enjoy that.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
like it made sense for his character too. He was trapped in a cave, literally deciding between killing humans or just letting them kill him, and he actually chose to let them kill him. He did not want to kill a human. For what reason? Beyond me, because that
yeah.
seems kind of stupid. But he was like, you know what? Hopefully they make it quick and they just kill me. And to resign yourself to, you know, just guess I'll die. And then having another human take such good care of you, feed you, give you a safe place to sleep, you know, protect you. I mean, it's not necessarily Stockholm syndrome, but I get some of those vibes, you know.
Just because of the okay, so we're talking about possessive dragons. How did you feel about how often he said, "Am I going?"
First, please don't imitate that voice. I hated it enough. Um, but it was pretty cute. Yeah. If it were done with literally any other voice than the one he picked in the book, it would have been like, at least me, if I were Gawain, I'd be like, all right, okay.
Yeah, imagine a much deeper voice. Just, "You are mine."
Like having having a dragon, even, you know, at his size, you know, about the size of a warhorse, but the concept of a dragon just standing next to you and calling you his is incredibly adorable.
Yep, there are a couple Dragon Rider novels that do that. They have very possessive dragons that are incredibly protective of their riders and even other humans that they deal with. Uh, the Temeraire series is one of those, which I've been reading for the sake of scouting out. Great books. We will put it on the show eventually, but it's 9 books long. I have to figure out a better way to do that. Uh, but yeah, possessive dragons, A plus.
A plus indeed.
To get back into the shapeshifting a little bit, less of a rant, more of it actually talking about how it happened in the book. When he used his magic to shapeshift because he had to help the mage with healing somebody because he needed hands. Never mind the fact that he
Has them.
front claws that probably worked. I don't know. I don't think they described if his front limbs were more hand-like or more paw-like.
I believe
So-
actually they did actually mention that they were hand-like, but they were too big and clumsy for the fine work that was needed for helping.
I mean, but he just needed to like hold two pieces together. That doesn't require a lot of dexterity.
Well, if you don't have fingertips, it does.
I guess if you don't have retractable claws, yeah. But yeah, so one thing I do want to nitpick about that is when they described how his vision changed when he transformed to human, how he lost peripheral vision, which sure makes sense, but he could see more in front of him. That felt a little weird considering predators generally have very front-facing vision.
Yeah.
So he would have already had that.
Well,
And then the one that really bothers me is he also said that he had more vivid colors while in human form. Which is like, no. I feel like you would lose a color or two off of your visible spectrum.
yeah, there's a lot of animals out there that can see, you know, colors that we can, that humans can't. And the whole peripheral vision and front-facing eye and stuff, that almost reminds me that maybe he just was like, what's the most fantastical creature I can put into my book now? Because there are a lot of people who literally think dragons are basically just scaled horses. You know, like I've seen a lot of, you know, like artwork and stuff, like fantasy artwork, where the dragons have very clearly, you know, prey animal eyes, you know, where they're on the sides of their head and they can barely see forward. You know, and maybe now I'm wondering, did he like do no research on dragons, or?
I mean, research on dragons is a very weird phrase. It's not really something that's easy to research.
Well, there's thousands of books out there.
And they all have a different type of dragon.
That's true. They're all wrong.
But yeah, me being nitpicky, the concept that humans have better vision than dragons, nope. Do not agree. And then the last thing I want to bring up, which is, I guess, going back into the sex scene stuff, the fact that Zephyr was the bottom, also don't agree with dragon being the bottom. Especially to a human.
Nuh-uh.
But yeah, I guess that's all to really talk about. Like we said, it was a very short book. Hopefully in the sequel we get more information about the world itself, because this was basically just, the entire book is traveling from point A to point B. It was from the cave where they got Zephyr to the castle where Gawain is from to try to keep him safe.
Yeah. Yeah, the evil wizard that had previously enslaved Zephyr definitely just feels like the shadowy boogeyman in the background of the story.
He's definitely Sauron right now.
Yeah. And it's funny because he's probably just some like old man mage, where if someone were to just take a shot at him with a bow and arrow, could probably just end him.
Not with the way they have magic in this world.
That is one small point I do want to bring up, because this book has done magic in a way that I love. I hate magic that requires stupid rhymes or stupid fucking chants or complicated hand gestures or whatever. And when Tristan wanted to light up the battlefield or light up the path up the mountain to rescue Zephyr, he literally just opens his arms and just magic balls of light come out. And I love that. None of this stupid like nursery rhyme BS where you're trying to, figure out how to rhyme, two different words or whatever. I hate it. I hate it in anime. I hate it in movies. I hate it in TV shows. You don't need to rhyme magic. It's not a book of poetry. It's a book of spells.
I'll admit the rhyming can get a little weird sometimes, but I definitely think there should be incantations and sigils and hand signs and all that, because otherwise you run into the whole, like, if you just wave your hand and do whatever you want, it becomes very unrestricted, I guess. I think it's then called a soft magic system, where it can do too much and it can do pretty much anything, and there's not really any limitations on it, and it just becomes really hard to write around. Like with just the wave your hand and do whatever, you couldn't attack the Archmage ever, because he just waves his hand and you're blasted with enough lightning or fire to where there's no way you survive. But if he has to do some preparations beforehand, you could take out his scepter or his magical components, or you can interrupt his chanting, or as long as you get the drop on him, he doesn't have enough time to draw his sigils. It gives you more room to work with.
Yeah. All right, well then I will settle for at least please stop putting rhyme schemes into your magic spells.
It definitely does not need to rhyme, in English no less. But having words of power that are from either the Draconic or the magical language, usually the magic language is the dragon language, that is definitely, I don't want to say necessary, but definitely a boon, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the way they do the shouts in Skyrim, if that was like the magic system, where it's just a word of power that you just have to say in the original language, which I think is just Draconic.
Fusrota!
Yeah, basically. That, I feel like, is a good magic system. It's a good balance of needing to do more than just imagine it and flick your finger, but also doesn't get into the really weird freaking...
Well, because like in anime, there have been several anime that I've watched with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a magic chant from an anime recently, yeah.
Well, like Overlord, what was the other one, reincarnated as a slime?
They just say the name of the move they want to do.
Konosuba, the point being is like it kind of brings up that whole joke of like, the Power Rangers introducing themselves while the villain just stands there dumbfounded waiting for his turn. And it's like the amount of time, there have been some anime where I swear to God the magic spells took like 30 seconds. Oh, Rise of a Shield Hero, that was the worst.
That wasn't that bad.
It was so bad. It took
I command you to rewrite the laws of nature and entrap my foe. That's not that bad.
That's
it doesn't rhyme either. It's not cringy because it doesn't rhyme, so it's okay.
Stupid. It's still stupid. But point being is like if I see somebody starting to chant that stuff, I'm gonna come right at them with a sword. Like the sword's going in your mouth. Like it's such a dead giveaway. Like I'm casting a spell, guys. Please don't interrupt me.
I mean that. Well, like Konosuba being an example of it's an isekai based off an RPG system. The concept is protect your mages because yes, they are vulnerable during that time.
You're supposed to protect your healers though.
Healers are also technically mages. They cast magic. They just focus on restorative rather than destructive.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else to bring up?
I don't know.
Alright. Well, thank you for joining us, dear listeners. Yeah, I guess just thanks.
I mean, take a day or two to relax after subjecting yourself to the graphic nature of this book,
and our vehement hatred towards some of the topics in it.
Yeah, and if you have any comments or questions, or you just want to follow us on social media, our Twitter is @officialwadpod on Twitter, and our email, if you want to send a question to the show, is...
Or you have a suggestion for something for us to read.
Or you have a suggestion.
An actual good shifter book.
Our email is wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. So that's WODPOD castmail@gmail.com.
Our next episode, in about 2 weeks from now, is actually going to be on the Dragonheart series, where it all began.
And we will be watching them in chronological order. So 3, 4, 5, 1, 2.
Then the episode after that, because I like to announce our books a month in advance, so you have time to read them, is going to be the Age of Fire series, specifically books 1 through 3. It is a 6-book series, but I feel like it splits into 2 arcs very beautifully, so we're just going to do arc 1 right now. But yeah, The Age of Fire by E.E. Knight. Book 1 is called Dragon Champion. We are debating doing a slightly different format for this, rather than reading all 3 books at once and then doing like a 4-hour-long episode. We will probably go to a weekly schedule just for these 3 books. So in a month from now, we'll do book 1, but then the following week will be book 2, and then the following week again is book 3. We're still kind of deciding. We will let you know next episode what we're deciding to go with.
All right, so see you then.
Yep. Once again, I'm Ray.
And I am Bantam.
And Dilettant's not here.
Yeah, I'm going to go check on that uprising and see if they've succeeded or not.
Maybe we should give them some help.
Yeah, reinforcements.
Yeah, we're supplying them under the table.
Listen, we're just trying to make Dilettant the best dragon he can be.
Wait, we are?
Yeah, if he fails in this uprising, then he didn't deserve to keep his castle.
Wait, do I need to back off a bit? Make it a bit easier?
Nah.
Alright. See you next time.
Bye-bye.